Welcome back to the Unranked podcast. Got myself Grant, with Elijah, of course. Here's another new episode. So what we plan on covering this week, I'm going to talk about Michigan basketball and just what they're looking at from a tournament standpoint. Big Ten tournament right around the corner here later on this week. Talk about NBA. The Pistons, they've won 6 out of 8 games. 6 out of the last 8 games. Going on a nice little hot streak here coming up after the All-Star break, and just want to kind of talk about, the addition of Marvin Bagley, what that'll kind of look like going forward for him. And then we're going to finish up with the NFL Combine and just kind of chat about what we appreciate, what we enjoy about the Combine, and, what things they tend to do that we're just not a fan of or don't really understand. So yeah, what I want to do, Eli, is go ahead and kick it over to you to start off Michigan basketball. Big win on Saturday.
Yes, sir.
What do you think this does for, seeding? What do you think this does for just got a confidence standpoint going into the Big Ten tournament, and how did you look at that win overall? What was the impact of that win going forward?
Yeah, so I think it was just a good statement win, way to end the season well. On kind of a good bow tie to an end of to a rocky season. I would say I definitely said this last time, but I never thought we'd be in this spot, heading in December. But through all of that, we are kind of on the upward swing of things. We've kind of figured it out as of February, as of heading into March. We've beat Purdue. We've beat a good Ohio State team. We've beat Michigan State recently. So, we've got some good wins under our belt, and we're playing some of the best basketball of the year. So, I think that's a good way to end the season. We have to play Indiana on Thursday at 11:30, I believe, in the first game of the Big Ten tournament. I think we got to get that under our belt as well. Yeah. I think we got it. And then the winner of that goes on and plays Illinois. I think we've had a mixed bag versus Illinois as far as this year. I know we got kind of the breaks beat off of us in January, and then we kind of played a fairly close game, not too many weeks ago, mid-February probably. Ended up about 7-8, somewhere around that ballpark. I think if I think you said it before we hopped on air, but if we can get 2 wins, that probably gets us out of the play-in. But I would say I think we have a couple pretty good statement wins, so I feel pretty confident on getting in. It's just a matter of how well how well we can fare out as far as the seating and, where we might have to travel, whether, we're somewhere in the Midwest or way down in Phoenix or some shit, so,
right.
The little details like that is what we're playing for now.
Right. Yeah, no, I second a lot of that. I'm not gonna lie, when that game started, cause I didn't get to start watching from start to finish. I turned it on when it was like 4 or 5 minutes into the first half, and I'm sitting there, I'm 3 or 4 minutes goes by. I'm like, where's Hunter Dickinson at? And then I did a quick little Twitter search. I didn't even realize that he was out with, stomach virus and wasn't even going to play. So I'm not going to lie. When I kind of saw that, I'm like, it might be a little dicey. But I was just impressed. Terrence Williams is probably the best guy I've ever seen him play. I got to give a lot of credit to Devontae Jones. I was very vocal about, how well he wasn't playing to start the season off. I feel like, a lot of how they weren't playing fell on his shoulders just from being a point guard of the team. But I would say since the start of the new year, he has definitely turned it on. He had 25 points against Iowa. Even though it was a loss, it's still, just being more aggressive on offense. And he was running that pick and roll perfectly against Ohio on Friday. Sunday. Ohio on Sunday. So, yeah, I think, like you said, they're peaking at the right time. I like some of those lineups that they're able to use. They're kind of running and gunning, playing strong defense. Just doing a lot of, things that, you need to do in order to, survive in advance. It's March now, so literally, it's no more looking down the road. You got Big Ten tournament, and then depending on how you're doing that, you can be one and done, and then you got the, obviously the big dance where you just got to, try to beat the team in front of you. And we'll see too, because I think, I've seen them on ESPN, they're not really in that last 4 in, first 4 out. That kind of tells me I feel like we're in, or else we would be in one of those categories. So I think we might have made it, been able to push past the play-in. I do think if we're able to just get Indiana, play Illinois tough or beat them, I think that could get us down to like a 9 or an 8 seed because we're 10, 9 or 8 seed. I think it's like the 11 seed and the 12 seed are the ones that have like that play-in.
Yeah, that sounds right. I think UCLA was the 11 seed last year.
And it might be like a 14 or a 15. I think one of them might be a 16 seed too, if I'm not mistaken. They usually have obviously like higher seeds to where they kind of just got in by like the skin of their teeth, quote unquote, whatever you want to call it. And I think too, I mean, we, our strength of schedule, top 10, we're in the Big Ten. We've beat, some of them top dogs. I think we've played a lot of teams tough. Like you said, Illinois, that was really the only team that we just didn't really play very well. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty much been a fist fight, every single game. And obviously wish we would have been able to get a couple more throughout the year, but this is the time to, they're getting hot at the right time. So we'll just have to see what they can do.
Yeah, no, and I think something we haven't brought up yet is, getting Juwan Howard back at the top of the mantle and him running the show again. And, just maybe, like I said before, maybe, he could take a different perspective. He's been removed from the team for weeks, at least, at least during game time, at least. I'm not sure how it is behind the scenes. But I think with that being said, maybe he can, at least he's going to be rejuvenated and have a different type of hunger. And I know he was dying to be out there. So I think all that being said, I kind of like where we're headed. I think we've played a lot of good basketball. I'm trying to pull a tweet up right now about us versus Michigan State. Yeah, so on January 11th, Michigan State was 13-2 and 4-0 in the Big Ten. And Michigan was 7-6 and 1-2 in the Big Ten, and we finished dead tied. And they got one more victory than us overall. So I think that's the tale of two seasons there. When you're for them to be 13-2 in mid-January, and then I think they finished like 18-14 or some shit like that. That says a lot, especially from us. And then for us to only have, be barely 500 there, and then, rattle off some good victories near the end. So I do like where we're headed. When we played Ohio, I think Caleb Houston was scoreless, or at least had no.
Yeah, 0 for 10.
So yeah, I think that's a kid that's been, or a young man that's been playing great. I would imagine that he would, he would rattle back up towards what he's been doing.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that's like, that made me feel even better. We basically down two of the best players. Right. Houston was out there. We didn't get any offensive production from him. So I just think, as long as Devontae Jones, that pick and roll, he continues to go downhill and just be aggressive and start making the right decisions. Something 3-point shooting has always kind of been up and down. I mean, I think they're literally like,
the worst in the
damn near like 15-3 or something when they shoot like over 30% from three, and then obviously 0 for where they're under 25%, like you just said, so they're pretty bad shooting three overall. So I mean, if we continue to get production from like from Terrence Williams, even Kobe Buffkin is starting to play, some pretty meaningful minutes. Diabate, and with him, it's really just, he just got to be mindful of the foul trouble. I think we're gonna be in a position ourselves to, to do well. And I feel like too, something. I mean, we're definitely one of those teams that we could have easily been like 22-5. You know what I'm saying? Like top 10, top 12. So it might be one of those situations where we end up getting that. If we get like that 8-9 seed, that's usually one of those matches we can go either way.
Yeah.
So if we can draw, maybe a team that was reeling towards the end of the season, it probably should have been like a 5 or 6 seed, but they fell like a 8 seed or a 7 seed, and we're peaking at the right time. We're going to be at a 9 seed or a 10 seed. Like I think that's kind of a good situation to be in.
Yeah, perfect.
Giving yourself the best shot to do what we can. So what is your? I want to ask like your prediction. Obviously, we don't know who they're playing or what they're doing, but just off what you've seen, like when it comes into the tournament, well, what do you What would make you think that this season was a success, regardless of everything that's kind of happened? Like, how far do they need to go?
I would say, like if they can get to the Sweet 16, I would have to deem the season as a success. through everything. Not to say that if they don't win, not to say that if they win a tournament game, what would that be? Two tournament wins get to the Sweet 16. So not to say if they win one, I'd be horribly upset. But if you can get two, then it's hard to be upset with a Sweet 16 season.
Right.
And all things considered, that would be great for Juwan Howard's third year, and obviously that would get us everybody that much more hungry for Final Four championship run. But that's where I would say if we could turn this into a Sweet 16 season, that I would have to deem it as a success. How about you?
Yeah. For me, man, I think if they're able to, I might be a little more lax with my expectations just because of how bad they started off and kind of like how inconsistent they've been. I think I'd be cool with one win, and I just say that because they're gonna end up, seeing this 1 seed or a 2 seed, if I'm not mistaken. If they're like in the 8-9 matchup, I'm pretty sure they end up seeing a 1 seed. That's almost guaranteed.
Yeah.
So that, what I'm saying, where it's.
Yeah. I think either way. I don't know. Either way.
I think they'd see a 1 seed if there was an 8-9. They'd see a 2 seed if there was a 10-7 matchup. So, or maybe a 2 seed if they're like an 11-6 matchup. Either or. I mean, they're going to end up playing a significant opponent. A pretty good opponent. Obviously, when it comes to that second round, I do think they definitely have the talent to be able to match up. Obviously, we don't know who they're going to play yet, but we are very aware that they're like going to be kind of like underseeded. So I think it'll be one of them scenarios where hopefully we just hope they can kind of stay on that plan. They ain't got that plan. You got to you play like Thursday night or Wednesday night. You got to play Friday where your team, the team you got to play, they've been chilling, for the whole week. Even though we saw UCLA.
You behind the 8 ball.
Right.
And that's why I said, what would I deem it a success? I think if we get to the tournament and don't win a game at all, I think that's almost that's disappointment. So I'd say that's the par would be to win that first game. That's the break even. Yeah. And then the second win would be that profit. If you don't win that first game at all, then I would say, damn, bro,
right.
Yeah. So that's kind of where I'm saying that. But I do think it definitely is an uphill battle, and knocking off of Illinois now would do you a hell of a lot of justice. To go ahead and get you, like you said, that 6 seed or maybe a 7, and try to get that big win on the front end versus have to do it in the tournament later on. So
right, yep, exactly. So I think Michigan, as far even from a basketball standpoint, the last few years, I mean they've obviously shown the talent. Juwan Howard, he's done a great job. Since being at the helm the first couple of seasons, they did what? He didn't get a. His first season was 2020, right? So he got cut short. He didn't get that opportunity.
Last year, 8.
Yep. So, second round, Sweet 16. I think that's definitely what we're going to be kind of looking at. And so we'll see. All in due time. But all in all, I'm happy where we ended up. You always get kind of nervous when the amount of wins is so close to the amount of losses. I mean, I think at one point they were like 15 and 13. I'm like, man, we get 500. They're not, what I'm saying? They're not like we'd have to win the Big Ten tournament if we was ended up around 500 in order to get in, in my opinion. So, glad they're able to pull it off, though.
Yeah, no, 100%. I think just to, transition to the next level up, talk about another local team of ours, and that's the Pistons. And what they've seen to put together over the last, I would say, since the All-Star break, they put together 6 of the last 8 wins, knocked off a couple playoff opponents within that stretch, a couple overtime wins within that stretch, finding different ways to win, so what's your thoughts on what they've done, since post All-Star break, post getting back, kind of the Pistons 2.0 Pistons.
Yeah, no, it's been exciting. I'm about to try to pull up their schedule. I just want to see who they beat. Just the last couple games. So
Cleveland's in that, Charlotte's in that.
So I'm starting from. So they beat Celtics by 1, Cavs by 3, lost to the Celtics, beat the Hornets by 1, lost by 3 to the Wizards. Beat the Raptors by 2, and they're like 3-0 against the Raptors. I think it's pretty impressive. Beat the Pacers by 5. Beat the Hawks by 3. So I mean, I guess kind of like looking at that. I mean, those are pretty all solid run-of-the-mill teams. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, those are all playoff teams right now, except for maybe the Wizards.
Yeah. I believe.
So I mean, and even in the losses, I mean, they got. So I feel like the switch kind of flipped when they got blown out by the Hornets, and that was February 11th, and we didn't have Bagley yet. I don't think.
I think so.
I think we just got him like a couple days.
He went active.
Prior. I think a couple days prior, because I think the trading deadline was before All-Star Weekend. So we might have had him, but he just wasn't available quite yet. But I mean, they're playing teams tough. I mean, they had to see the Celtics twice in that stretch, and when they played them the second time, they lost by like 9. So you love that they're going in and getting after other teams. Playing them all tough. They're not lying down and kind of just listening to the noise about them being they're not going to make the playoffs, or they the tank for whoever. Like, they're not really playing any of that. It's been great just kind of seeing even how Bagley has started to come on as well. And I feel like he was kind of like what we're missing, just like kind of like a rim runner, athletic big that can just kind of he can get you an easy bucket inside. So I'm just glad that, or like you get you an easy bucket inside when you need one. So I'm just glad that it seems like the chemistry between him and Cade, they've done a couple of lobs already. They definitely been doing a good job of just like, So Sadiq Bey's been coming on. And Cade has been, he's been doing his thing. He's peaking. This is when you start to see a lot of rookies, kind of like killing off, not really playing as well because they kind of hit that rookie wall, but he's peaking at the right time.
Yeah, no, so I agree that I think the Bagley addition is great. I think what we need to do now is just find a way to fill out the roster to complement Cade, because that's really what it's all about. I think every move needs to be associated with just kind of building the arsenal around that. And so I think he's a great addition, like you said, running the floor, can play above the rim. Good play. I haven't seen a lot of it yet personally, but I'm sure they'll be working on pick and roll throughout the offseason, pick and pop. That's going to be a tough situation to guard. I mean, you got like a 6'10", 6'11" guy, and then that can handle the ball fairly well, and a 6'8" guy that can handle the ball as good as a point guard. So I think that's going to be very tough, formidable. I'm not sure if you want to jump into this yet, but I'll keep it on the wins. I think, and just to put together a good stretch of wins for a new team, to let everybody know that, hey, this can work, this will work. And I think they've had a lot of Cade's been banged up. Cade had started out very bad as far as the shooting goes. Killian's been pulled from the lineup and moved to the second string. There was trade rumors over the young team's head the entire year. So I think that's a lot of stuff happening. A lot of teams, you might hear bad things sprinkling out, but no, everybody knows that this is, they're working towards something. So, I think a lot of people can. I think a lot of people that are on the roster now, you can see their spot. Like you said, Sadiq Bey, quickly become one of the best shooters in the league. Cade quickly become one of the best all-around players in the league, and then you add a Marvin Bagley, who is just a great young talent, and you're gonna have a top 5 pick coming in. So I think we're in a great place. And so who do you kind of think about for the draft? Yeah, are you looking that far ahead? Do you have kind of what?
Yeah, well, I was gonna say before jumping into that, I just like kind of look at their schedule after going, you've kind of rattled off who they played recently. Bulls tomorrow, Celtics again on Friday, Clippers on Sunday, Heat next Tuesday, Magic next Thursday, Cavs next Saturday, and then the Trailblazers that following Monday. So I mean that's what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. So it'd be interesting to see if they can kind of keep this energy up. You got quite a few of these games are going to be on the road. It's kind of like half and half road, half home games. But there's also a couple, playoff teams in there, some perennial, like 2 of those teams are in like the top 4 in the East. So I'll just be curious to see how they match up against contenders.
Right.
like the Bulls and the Heat. But yeah, kind of just want to shift gears to the draft. I think, with them being able to trade for Marvin Bagley, and it's already been going pretty well. Excited to see what he's able to do, when he gets put into a starting role. I mean, I think that's going to happen sooner rather than later. Maybe not this season, but I think it's going to be one of those things that they're going to have to really look into if they do decide to keep him, long term. I think he's just that good of a player to where I feel like I'd rather see him over Jeremy Grant in the starting lineup. But when it comes to the draft, I do kind of feel like it kind of depends on what they want to do with him. Because I feel like now it's starting to look like K's going to be the point guard. Bay will be the 2 or the 3. And he's like 6'7", 6'8". I think he's big enough to be able to play either or. You might have, like I said, Grant or Bagley at the 4, and then Isaiah Stewart at the 5, or Bagley at the 5. I don't know how much Bagley plays center or anything along, if he does even play center. But I like to, see if they can. I mean, it might kind of change to where obviously you want to go get best available. So if we do get the first overall pick and Jabari's there, of course, we want to go ahead and go after him. But if they continue the success, if they end up winning, getting to like 25, 27 wins or something along those lines, if the season ends, you could definitely be looking at more of a pick in like that 5 to 12 range, or like 8 to 12 range potentially. To where I think a guy like Benedict Mathurin from Arizona, he won Big Ten or Pac-12 Player of the Year. He's a pretty good athletic guard. I think he'll end up, leading Arizona to a pretty deep playoff run or a tournament run to where he might kind of sneak himself into like that top 7, top 8 range. And then I'm also a pretty big fan of Jaden Ivey from Purdue. They definitely there's conversations of him being maybe 2nd overall, or like within that top 5. So I think if you're able to, if we address that issue of needing like another like athletic wing that can score, or like a big / wing that or a big, my bad is a big. I think we can maybe shift our focus to just getting like some more scoring into the lineup, and somebody else that Cade can get involved. So I think he's going to be in the point guard going forward. And I think those are 2 guys that kind of stick out to me that I'd like us to maybe target, just depending obviously on where draft stock it or like where we end up. So yeah.
I say I put it this way: whoever they get has to be able to shoot from the deep.
Yeah.
That has to be a key characteristic of
floor spacing.
Yeah. So they have to be, they have to be able to stretch that defense out, because I think that's going to be key to keeping everything else together. And I think that's what you do with great players. I'm not saying he is of that ilk necessarily, but like that's the way LeBron plays best. That's the way Giannis plays best. When you can allow them to just leave that lane completely open. So I think that's what whoever we get has to be able to have that ilk. I would say my personal favorite would be Jabari Smith right at the top. I'll put him in a couple different categories. If we can luck up and get first pick, second pick, because they might take Chet Holmgren. I think that's a very good possibility. I don't know. We should have a little sliver conversation at him afterwards. But but I think at the top of the draft, Jabari Smith. If we can get him, we get him. And then I go to like second tier. From there, I do like Jaden Ivey, but I also I haven't seen the Panchero guy from Duke, Banchero.
Oh yeah,
Banchero. I'm looking forward to watching him play in the tournament. I haven't really watched him play all that much on screen. Obviously, I figured he's probably pretty solid, but I don't know a lot about him. And then Keegan Murray from Iowa. I think that's another. He's a big. He's a power forward, but he can shoot the 3. I think that's something. If we happen to fall a little, like you said, past the 5 range, I think that's a good player. That would definitely be there. He's not going to be at that very tip of the top draft, but he'll probably be there in that 5 to 10 range. I think he'll be very good. Like another guy that can shoot. Another athletic big.
Yeah. So we'll have to see, because I don't like Chet. I watched him play a couple times over the last few days. He's a bigger guy. He blocks shots really well, but he's also like over 7 foot. You know what I'm saying? So it's just like, it's kind of like an expectation, I feel like, to a certain extent. to be able to be like a somewhat of a rim protector. I know it's Katie kind of came in a little lanky, but these guys' games is completely different. So I just don't really. I just kind of wonder how he'd match up against having to maybe see like a Giannis or like a DeAndre Ayton or just like a very like Anthony Davis, somebody that's like significantly bigger, stronger. Like, can he like sit and kind of be able to kind of take that type of punishment, consistently? But I do agree too with like the shooting side, because even the bench, and you got like Rodney McGruder, he's doing, he's shooting pretty well. Isaiah Livers, I mean, I think he's, I saw a couple of games he's made like 2-3 threes.
He can hit him.
In, like his first few games back. I always knew he could, but I was just like, at the clip he's kind of hitting them at, I mean, he's literally like 9 points, 3 or 5 from the field. You know what I'm saying? Or like, like 9 points, like 3 or 4. You know what I'm saying? Just like it's like really like his like shots. It sounds like from what I'm kind of like seeing with him, I mean, he's just kind of really hitting the open three. You know what I'm saying? From Cade, or like Killian, kind of like going in and dishing it out. So I agree with the shooting thing for sure. And I think Mathurin, Ivy's more of like a slasher. Kind of just wants to put his head down and go past you. Mathurin, I mean, I don't know how much you've seen him play, but he can really do quite a bit. I've seen him like bring the ball up, play his defense. I mean, everything from like blocking shots to just like straight taking the ball from people. Pretty talented guy. I think he'd be like that's probably like a puzzle piece. You know what I'm saying? Like the final piece, at least from what I've seen so far from him.
Yeah, no. So I think with the Chet Holmgren kid guy, I think it's such a curse, because I feel like if we don't get him, he could be pretty solid. And I feel like if we do get him, maybe one time he's not good. I really feel like it's one of the curses. So I kind of just don't want to touch him. But just doing a little bit of research for this podcast today, man. If I told you the comparison that they put in this article, you would get sick. Where they said Chet,
Kevin Durant.
No. They said Chet Holmgren is Dirk on offense and Marcus Camby on defense.
See, I don't know, man.
I said, all right, man, come on. And then, I don't know, just like I feel like there's a lot of people that's kind of buying into the hype, and I don't know for sure. Like, I think a tournament run of his, seeing him is, it's hard for me to judge them guys out there in them weird conference, day in and day out. Like you said, no big, you're going to be bruised up that much more playing in the Big Ten than you are playing in, the Mountain West or wherever they're in.
They lost to St. Mary's last week. Like I just feel like, obviously you come out and it just happens sometimes, but like, it's always kind of like, what are y'all doing out there? Anytime they lose out there, it's like, what are y'all doing? Like it's almost like inexcusable to be losing down there. Or out
losing
out there. So
the size of a Ferris gym. Like, it's just
right.
Crowd of 2,200.
Right. So I agree with you on that. I mean, I'm looking at the stat line right now, and I mean, it's solid. 14-9, or probably even close. Yeah, like I feel like 15-10, 3 blocks a game. That's something that didn't surprise me. I mean, Anthony Davis, I think he had like over 150 blocks. As a freshman, and I was at Kentucky. You know what I'm saying?
So that's what. Just to be honest, my barber compared him to. He was like, I'm like, he's so damn skinny. He was like, remember how skinny Anthony Davis was? He was blocking shots left and right.
Small.
But I think he was pretty small. But I'm like, it's different because he's playing in the SEC.
Mm-hmm.
Billboards out there of him with more blocks in a year than like the whole entire teams. Yeah, it's like he was different. He was different that year. So I think and I don't know. I just gotta. If he goes on a deep tournament run and plays that well or better versus some real deal teams, maybe I'll let off on him. But I want the Pistons to touch him as of now.
And we'll see though, because I think if you can kind of look at like right now, it's kind of crazy. They play the Pistons have won 6 out of the last 8. They're still 14th in the East. So I think looking at this kind of puts in perspective how like realistic it is for us to still be a top 10 pick. Which is exciting. Well, I mean, they're still playing well, but they still suck. That's kind of what we want. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you said when you said 12 seed earlier, 12 pick, I almost got. If that happens, I'm be.
Yeah, that would be disappointing, but that'd be something that would happen to us though. It's happened before. So I feel like we've had a pretty bad record. We don't even crack the top like 8. It's just like how? Like how did this happen? But yeah, I mean, the what you got us in Orlando at the bottom, Pacers not far off. You know, Knicks are right there, shockingly. You got the Rockets, they got the worst record by far. And you got the Thunder and the Kings that are all kind of like in the same vicinity as us. So, you know, like I said, we'll see how the percentages kind of play out. Obviously, you know, we talked about how Jeremy Grant could be on the trade block. You know, finally,
I think he'll be.
we'll see.
I think he'll be gone. Either way, I think
Yeah,
I can. I won't be for certain by next trade deadline he'll be gone. You know, I think
yeah,
there's no rush to get rid of him necessarily, and so you know why not just sit around and wait for somebody to to be desperate.
yep,
It's kind of my thought.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I think too, you know, we've seen Weaver, you know, make some moves, you know, on draft day,
Mm-hmm.
like get up off of him, get us another first round pick. You know, might be able to mess around and get top 3 pick, get one of these other guys, you know, on the back half of the lottery. So a lot of options there. I'm just glad that it's going to be, you know, they'll probably got what 20 games left, 18 games left.
Somewhere around there.
And they can win 5 or 6. I mean, I think that'd be a successful season. Finish around like 22 and 60 or something like that. That's not bad. But I mean, that's, you know, it is what it is. You know, it's what we just got to be patient. Hopefully, you know, the front office choose to be patient still too.
No, for sure. Sure. Now, I think just you know we going to transition here to something that just finished up, NFL Combine.
Yeah.
You know, that was something that I think was last week or last weekend. You know, just wrapped up. So you know, kind of, I know you got some thoughts and opinions on you know, kind of the processes that they're been implemented.
Yeah.
Won't seem to get rid of over decades. So you know, just kind of throw it over to you here and hear your opinion.
Yeah, no, I think it's just kind of crazy over time. You know, social media has grown and just developed. I feel like you know, you're able to find so much content and just like articles, just read it and kind of understand like how grueling that process is for, you know, these players. And I think, you know, obviously I feel like it to a certain extent it is necessary. Like I do think, you know, players kind of showing up, weathering this type of adversity, you know, having to be up at 5 a.m., not being able to get back to your hotel like it's 11 p.m. Some of that stuff, it's like, okay, I can kind of see from like a, you know, like just mental standpoint, how they might kind of do certain things, kind of see how the players respond to that. Always awesome. I mean, I think for me, I won't sit there and watch it just because it's like, I just can't do that. But, you know, I do enjoy just seeing like the big fellas, like the D linemen, you know, running their 40s on DNs, obviously skill positions, kind of doing their things, like with the drills and stuff. I'll watch some clips of that here and there. But yeah, I mean, you know, if I told you there's just some things I'm just not really a fan of when it comes to, you know, the draft, the combine process. Like, one example is a couple players have, you know, kind of made comments about how, you know, teams are asking they can rap. And, you know, for me, when that comes to mind, you know, I know that like, you know, I know all players aren't being asked those type of questions. You know, we know who those questions are directed towards. And it's like how I kind of look at it is how, you know, we live in this day and age where, you know, side hustles are kind of like, you know, people, you know, obviously trying to find different ways to just, you know, diversify themselves, make more money, whatever that kind of looks like. You know, sometimes like the NFL is just like, you got to just do this one job and this job only. You can't do nothing else. So I think they try to kind of screen these kids on questions like that to kind of figure out where their head is at with certain things. So they, you know, in fear that they might, you know, draft a rapper or something, you know, where a guy wants to be a rapper and it might not work out or pan out however they look at it. You know, they asked the player, Eli Apple from Ohio, so the coach asked him if, you know, if he liked men. You know, and I just think, like, you know, how I always look at it, I always tell you, like, this is where you can really, like, mess with kids' money. You know, all these evaluations really taking money out of some of these kids' pockets. So I just feel like, you know, the way that they're starting to, you know, some of the things you see, you're hearing, like the Wonderlic test, like stuff like that, it's just not very necessary when it comes to, you know, being on the football field. So I just feel that, you know, they should do away with some of the questions, you know, some of the process overall, and just create more of an environment for these kids to be able to thrive and find ways to help their draft stock instead of potentially hurting their draft stock because they're not answering certain questions the type of way.
Yeah, no, I think you made a lot of great points, and I think it boils down to a couple things. The NFL just not having respect for these young men, uh,
Yep.
them knowing that they can parade them around and and use it as a spectacle.
Yeah.
Look at this. Look at our um, how physically gifted our league is, and look at it. And
Hmm.
also on top of that, it's generating money. That's a couple day event that everybody's sitting around watching on TV that they're going to talk about.
Yeah.
Um, Hundreds of articles were wrote, hundreds of podcasts were talked about it. It's generating money. It's stirring the pot. It's something else that they can do just to kind of you know used to parade the players around. So I think that's kind of
Yep.
what they're doing at the end of it is they're just using it to kind of I'm failing to come up with a word, but they're using it to kind of just keep the story in the BS going. They can bring in a
Yeah.
bunch of young players. They can a bunch of small schools that nobody's ever heard of, and this kid was drafted in the 6th round. They can kind of make the stories up at all while dehumanizing a lot of players throughout.
Yeah.
By belittling questions, by making them come out there for 3 days and get everything filmed and poked at and
Yeah.
said your hands are too little or you're too short or you're too fat or hey you're too
Hmm.
dumb or whatever the question is, and and I did a little bit of research on the Wonderlic test as well, and it's just a pointless test, a
Yeah.
rudimentary test that is been, from what I could see, has been deemed kind of useless since like somewhere around the 1960s. It's just so I don't know. I think they're using a lot of outdated technology,
Yep.
and I think the big when it comes to Wonderlic test, the one player that comes to mind I think would be Vince Young, if I'm not mistaken. Was the one that they
Hmm.
scored, an historically low number on that, and as if that has really any merit on anything. Why
Yeah.
not do it? If you need to get the smarts of it, why not do a simple IQ test, or why not do something else if you have to get those smarts? Even though at the end of the day they're out there playing football, and football IQ could be a completely different thing than whether you can get the square root of a number. Yeah.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, and I just think, like I said, one person, just as far as like the combine that kind of like came to mind is recent one, Kayvon Thibodeau. He and now this is one of those things where I feel like, if you're gonna go up to the podium and say you're gonna do everything, you should probably do everything. He went to the podium and said he's gonna do everything, ran the 40, ran a 4.6, which was a great time for him, and just packed it up and took off because he said he thought the process was too grueling. He didn't really want to participate or like kind of wait to do like DN drills and then do like linebacker drills, even though everybody else is doing the same thing. I mean, he's gonna be top 5, top 10, regardless, maybe even top 3. It depends on people kind of like look at this situation and if he falls on it or not. But I mean, that's pretty telling, that, and then just how grueling the process can be. And then on top of that, they already running in like hallways, just like outside in like the hotel room, whatever, just kind of having to do these like makeshift environments to practice 40 times in and such. And then, COVID, the NFL decided to like have like heavy COVID restrictions. So they're gonna have to like, almost like it'd be like what it usually is times 2. And saying that, not to say COVID is not a serious thing, we definitely know, it is, but like a lot of the players are ready to not, weren't prepared to not show up just because they didn't want to have. They already know how grueling the process is. They don't have to like, deal with, all the COVID restrictions and such as well. So that's just something where it's like they just kind of, and that just kind of shows me they were just like, oh, like these guys should want to be here. They should want to do this. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like kind of like dangling a carrot. It's like they're gonna dangle a carrot, and then for some of them players, they're gonna kind of pull it from right from the player as soon as they grab it, because like you said, they go in there, they get measured, they interview, they take all these tests and stuff, and some guys can go from being
It's literally like
third round.
it's literally. I mean, I didn't watch it, but some Squid Games, Hunger Games type shit where everybody's gonna battle it out, duel it out. There's I don't know how many players get drafted every year, 180 draft spots, and there's 500 of you here, and
Yeah.
And good luck. The first 30 are already taken
Yeah.
off the board, so we're really only fighting for about 100 spots. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and on top of that, like I said, we're gonna film all of it, make millions of dollars, sit around and criticize everything you do.
Mhm.
You know, I was seeing players that it might have been an Ohio player. One of them receivers running the routes, and everybody on Twitter was making fun of him, said it's like he was running hurdles, and all of this, like, just little things like that. That
Yeah.
who's to say this guy's still not gonna be a great player? But he's just instead he's getting mocked and berated around for no
Yeah.
economic value to itself.
Right.
It's
Or
good to get hurt.
yeah. Or 40 times. Like they're releasing these unofficial 40 times. And I just think, to me, I think that's kind of like, it's kind of silly to do that. They release an unofficial 40 times and they go back and say, oh, they only ran this. Like literally they had Olave had like a 4.26 and then they came back and said it was a 4.39. Like obviously we already know who he is and where he's gonna go and all that, but it's just like, what is the point?
No, I agree. And I mean I actually didn't know that got reversed, which is crazy because to the opposite. I was watching this it was like all these 40-yard dashes, and it was the top 10 40-yard dashes. And there was a guy in there, but the time that flashed for what his time was on the video was different than what it clocked in at, and it was better on the thing. So I was like, he wasn't even talked about in the video because they thought he ran a 4.44, but he ran a 4.35. I'm like, so this dude didn't even get talked about because y'all messed it up. You know what I mean? Like, but if he would have ran that 4.35 off rip, they would have had talked about him, showed him on camera for 20 more seconds.
Right.
Yeah, it would have been a whole more little thing. So yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Yeah, so all in all, I think, I do feel like I can see why it's necessary. Like I said, it definitely tests, football's a hard game. You know what I'm saying? So I just think sometimes some of those processes they go through, they're necessary. They want to be able to see how these kids perform under pressure. I completely understand that. I think it's kind of pointless to just, be asking some of the questions that you hear are being asked, and just really, try to just focus in on, like, it should be something like to help the players. You know what I'm saying, too? Like, I just feel like, instead of just trying to test them, and then if they fail, now they're going to be a second rounder, or they're going to drop to the fifth round. Like, as a thing, I don't think it's really fair to them to kind of have to have those types of things happen, or have those types of consequences if they don't run a good 40. And most of these kids are going to go to a pro day and do all this stuff all over again in late March, early April too. So just that's kind of like what my thoughts are on it.
Agreed. And there's no correlation to 40-yard in success or cone drill in success. I mean, I'm sure there is some, but there is no, there's not a very strong correlation that, some random receiver that ran a 4.68 this week won't be a 1,000-yard receiver in 2 years.
Right.
There is no.
Exactly.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yep. Completely different game. They're out there in shorts and, shirts on. Right. So football's played in pads and helmets. So yeah, that being said, that's all I got for today. Got anything else for the people?
No, sir. We'll be back at you next week.
Yep. Peace out.